Welcome to the exciting rebirth of Superstar, featuring choose your membership rate as low as just $3 a month. At Superstar, you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week, unlimited access to special horoscopes, class passes for Synchronicity University, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of January 1st, 2023. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here and Happy New Year to everyone out there. Well, it is this week that we have got a powerful full moon taking place in its home sign of Cancer. This moon does promise fresh perspectives, but also spiritual connection as well. And very likely it's going to come from entertaining different thoughts and different perspectives. There's something about allowing oneself to be open to the world, to other ideas, in how it is it makes the whole world home in its own way. But at least as we begin this week, I feel like the resolution that will eventually come, thanks to the energy of the full moon on Friday, well, it's like in some ways we're reaching for it. As we begin the week, we're still feeling Venus meeting Pluto in the sky. Now, that was energy that all of us would have felt at the end of last week on New Year's Eve, but it perfected either late night last week or today, Sunday, January 1st. And so this is the energy that a lot of us are bringing into this brand new week, this memory, this understanding, the intensity that's playing out. And I wanted to talk about that because I do feel like we're going to have a crescendo, if you will, in our own journeys before it is that we're able to then move into the other energies that are going to be playing out this week. Mainly, it is going to be on Monday that Mercury will speak in harmony with Neptune. And this will bring that right balance of another perspective, but a more spiritual perspective as well. As we're starting the year, a lot of us may not necessarily be riding that energy, at least not just yet, as it is that we're feeling all kinds of things stirring within us. Well, that really is the point. It's about understanding what's really within you so that then you can choose consciously the direction in which you desire to go. In Buddhism, they have what's called the 6 levels of existence. So you get heaven, human, animal, which is pretty straightforward, right? So the very top is heaven, and then next to the top are human beings. After animal comes fighting demon, and fighting demon is the realm of Mara. And I'll talk about Mara in just a second because there is a very important story that is connected to the enlightenment of Buddha related to this realm of fighting demons, the realm of Mara. After that, we get the realm of the hungry ghosts, and then we get to the realm of hell. I found this so fascinating as I was considering these realms of existence in Buddhism. The hungry ghost is one that I thought really did encapsulate these Pluto conjunctions that are and have been in the ether, especially as of late, and are only going to magnify the further we move into this month. But right now, we've just started a brand new year connecting to this energy and wanting to identify, each of us in our own way and perhaps in our own language, which realm it is that we actually live in. Now, the realm of the hungry ghosts have been described as animalistic and beings that have no end to what it is that they're yearning for. And it's interesting because Dr. Gabor Mate, who is a very famous Canadian doctor, he is a world expert on addiction, and he actually likens the hungry ghost to the addict and that insatiable need to always have more and more, to fill some void, which is what is encapsulated by the hungry ghosts. And the fact that this is just next to hell, I thought that that was so fascinating. This idea of how it is that we may want more and more, but the more we want, it's like the less the desire is actually met. And so, what's really going on, we can't really know that unless we're willing to sit with ourselves. And it's only when we're willing to sit that we can then begin to ascend these different realms of existence. Something interesting, as these hungry ghosts have been described as emotional and animalistic, I thought that was so fascinating because many ancient cultures liken the animalistic side to a more instinctual side, and therefore not as enlightened as the human intellect might be. And so, what is that about? I thought that that is very strongly connected to, if we look at it from a more modern context, that animalistic side of us is ultimately the instinctive side of us. And what is it that creates the instinctive side of us? Well, that tends to be ruled by perhaps some of our earliest experiences, especially in childhood. Some people call it conditioning or programming, but this part of us that will have these very strong responses to a given moment. It is that sort of automatic part of us that can be described as the instinct of an animal, for example. But the fact that the ancients thought that this was less than what it is to be human, I thought that that was interesting because we also see ancient stories, not just in Buddhism, but also in ancient Greece as well, where spiritual attributes are associated with different animals. And so there's this recognition that just like human beings, animals have this range of experience. And as much as animalistic is used to talk about our more baser instinct, it is when we're at least able to acknowledge them that then something within us starts to grow, starts to move onward and upward. And so we have this realm of the hungry ghost, this sense of so much storing within us and a void within us that we're trying to fill. And then we start this week. We have this energy that some of us may be connecting to. I've certainly been seeing it in interactions with different people online, especially. Um, and then we get to Monday's energy, which is a retrograde Mercury in Capricorn, speaking in harmony with Neptune. Now, Capricorn is an earth sign. Earth as an element is thought to be very diligent and to have a certain focus to it. And even though it is Capricorn that is a sign that starts a season, so it's considered a cardinal sign and has an initiating factor to it, it's still Earth. And there's a sense of being able to understand what it is that the outcome is going to be, what is going to be manifested as a result of what is happening right now. There's also, with this Neptunian energy, inspiration and healing, but also compassion as well. And I think that just might be part of the answer that helps us to ascend these realms of existence. Because ultimately, these six realms of existence, although ancient people often thought of them as literal places, we can now look at them as, in addition to, um, also related to states of spiritual being, like states of where you are in terms of how your spirit and your soul is feeling right now. You know, we like to say that it's all a part of us, it's all within us, but what that means is, as much as we might have moments of experiencing heaven and the best of what it is to be human, connected to that heaven, on the way to that heaven, on the way to enlightenment, the realm of enlightenment, which is heaven, at the same time, it doesn't take that much for us to then go to the realm of the hungry ghost, for example, the realm of learning. It's almost like they need each other. We need the contrast, if you will, to appreciate that much more that the work it takes sometimes to move towards enlightenment, even if we know in many ways that we will never get there. That's the thing. The Buddha did reach enlightenment, and in that way, he inspires us to walk that path. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to reach it in this lifetime. In fact, I would say that if you're here now, if you're incarnated, it means that you are not enlightened. I'm sorry to say it. I don't want to judge you. I'm talking about myself, really. Um, but if you're here, it means you have more to learn. It means that you're on the pathway towards enlightenment. Um, and there are moments when we may glimpse that space of heaven, that space of us as humans at our best, but it's not necessarily a destination. It's a state of awareness and a state of being. Okay, so we've been feeling these hungry ghosts, and now here we come. We get the opportunity with Mercury, now retrograde, slowly, right, moving in the sky, but really last week and the week before, and now into this week, has been holding tight this conversation with Neptune. And I feel like this is an opportunity to start ascending. And how you ascend from the energy of Venus conjunct Pluto, the realm of the hungry ghost, is first you have to go to the realm of Mara, the fighting demon. Okay, so this is the story I wanted to tell about Mara, and that is, the Buddha. I love sharing stories about the Buddha. Um, there's actually a space on the border between Nepal and India. And on the Nepali side, you can actually visit the birthplace of the Buddha. And then just on the other side of the border in India, you can visit a Bodhi tree. And this is the Bodhi tree that is believed to be the place where the Buddha said to himself, okay, I am going to sit under this Bodhi tree and I will not move until I have reached enlightenment. And so the Buddha goes and sits under this tree. And he's sitting there with himself and going within. And then he meets these realms. He's essentially in that space, traveling these realms of existence. And he gets to the realm of Mara. And this is where Mara, thought in some conceptions to be a deity or a demon, tempts him, makes him aware of his own ego, right? Says to him, you can be the most incredible teacher that ever lived. You can be worshipped by so many people. And it's only in the Buddha being willing to acknowledge the messages of Mara. It is only when the Buddha is willing to acknowledge that this ego is the false self, and it's not even about that. It's not about having people worshiping you. It's not about all these external gains that Mara is promising, but rather it is that the Buddha in his own way is fighting in the realm of the fighting demons. He's fighting with Mara. This is one way to interpret this understanding. And so it is only by being willing to look oneself, but also to look at those more ego desires, which ultimately are rooted in not the experience of the divine in our most enlightened self, but rather they're rooted in that instinctual self that's set into place when we're young. The instinctual self that maybe never felt worthy, that maybe picked up messages that we weren't worthy. And so now we've set out to say, no, everyone must acknowledge how special I am, or I'm going to set out on a path so that people, lift me in some way. That ego part of us is something that just about every major religion that I've come across, and of course, I've always been fascinated by religion. My master's degree was with the Faculty of Religious Studies as well, so it's something that fascinates me that just about, I would say, all of the major religions of the world, they discuss in some part of their holy texts, they talk about how it is this false self, this ego, that ultimately keeps us from knowing our most divine self. And so here we are, right? We are in this transition place, a lot of us, and that doesn't mean all of life is feeling like the hungry ghost, right? It doesn't mean that. It means that in at least one area of life, in at least one way, if you sit and reflect, you may realize that you might be obsessing over something. You might be behaving in ways that are compulsive or ultimately are draining you of energy, that there is an insatiable part of us that has been stirring very strongly as we were ending last week and just as we're stepping into this week. And on some level, I think many of us know that on the one hand, it can't last. It's not meant to be lived that way. If we live as hungry ghosts, what happens is self-destruction. It's the road to hell, which is what Dr. Mate associates with addiction as well. And so it is by being willing to look at one's false self that then we start to ascend. And as we ascend, we're able to see ourselves in the animals, in the realm of the animals. We're able to understand that much more the range of emotion and instinct that we have. And then we get to the best that we can be in this life. And that can only happen with faith that the work will be worth it. Because it is scary to be in the realm of the fighting demons. It is scary to confront Mara or one's ego. It is scary to say that I got all these messages, but you know what? I'm not going to give that energy anymore. Instead, I'm going to go for something else. And what is that other thing? It's ultimately to be at peace with oneself. So now as we start this week, we have this sense of a practical spiritual perspective that's starting to get in. We are reflecting on ourselves, our actions, and if they're helping us to manifest what it is we really want, and perhaps what we have wanted, well, maybe that's not really coming from a more enlightened part of us. Maybe what it is that we've always wanted. Remember, Mercury is retrograde. We are reconsidering what it is that we've wanted from a perspective of, maybe this is the hungry ghost within me. Maybe this is me in the realm of demons. And so now, what is it ultimately that allows us to ascend? We ascend through intention. That's a big one. Setting the intention and having the willingness. That's really all it takes. Willingness is magic. You don't have to be certain to walk a path towards being a better version of you, but the intention and the willingness will get you a very, very, very long way in that direction, ascending realms in this case. I actually think that work is going to pay off tremendously with a week like this. As we navigate forward, it is going to be on Friday that we have the sun speaking in supreme harmony with Uranus. This is one of my most favorite energies because this is an energy of freedom and lightness, but it's also an energy that can be supremely fortunate. It's an energy of either a different perspective or a surprise event or a sense of being touched by luck that can change everything for us in an instant. This is Capricornian energy now that we're highlighting. And so it's a sense of a changed perspective around what is success for us. What is meaningful achievement? What goals are worth pursuing? And where is it perhaps that we've tired ourselves out focusing so much on something that we really thought we were meant to achieve or do, when perhaps the path is something else, something different, something better, something that allows us to be at peace with oneself. And I think that is part of the gift of Uranian energy, but especially when the sun trines Uranus. And so the sun in Capricorn is saying that, yes, believe in the highest version of yourself, a higher, more loving vision for yourself, but also live it. Back it up with some action, any action. And then Uranus says, you do that, and look how quickly things can change. Look how quickly you can leap forward, onward and upward. Look how quickly a future that feels that much more exciting reveals itself. In some cases, literally in an instant. Some of us are going to have the proverbial light bulb moments, okay? Moments when we didn't realize we weren't seeing, and then all of a sudden we feel it all and we see it all very differently. That's the most likely scenario for the air signs, the Geminis, the Libras, the Aquarians. The fire signs are most likely to experience this energy in a sense that is in some way related to your work or your contribution to the world. You know, it is in the realm of Mara that we are told you are special. You are here to do something special. There's nobody like you. And in a way, yes, that's true. But the truth is that all of us are here to do something special, each and every one of us. And in that way, really, none of us is special. And so much focus can be spent on validating oneself, pursuing this idea that the world must acknowledge me as special when, because we're all special, it might not be that special, but you know what? Perhaps you could do. Perhaps, if you're lucky, you might be able to be useful in this lifetime. You might be able to make some sort of a contribution to someone in your own unique way. And there are as many ways to do that as there are people. And we judge the different ways in which people are useful or making a contribution. We can be judgmental of each other, and yet our journeys are uniquely our own. All of us, in our own way, are traveling the 6 realms of existence. And in that way, again, we are all the same. And so for the fire signs, it has to do with how is it that with the sun trine Uranus now, how is it that a breakthrough could allow you to be useful, could allow you to in some way align, not just about specialness, but how is it that that can become a contribution? Uranus being a planet of equality can only happen hand in hand with humility. You can't have one without the other, because when there isn't equality, what there is insecurity and hierarchies. It is true humility that is able to see oneself in each other. And once you do that, equality is assured, is the natural result of that. And so here we are being invited to look at ourselves differently. And yes, for the fire signs, this is likely going to show up in terms of their work and their contribution in that way. For the water signs, the Cancers, the Scorpios, the Pisces, this is likely to show up in terms of your connections to other people, whether that's social connections or more personal connections or spontaneous connections. It is in those very connections that you're able to find that freedom, that lightness, the ascension that helps you to understand where it is, what realm it is that you've been, and how now to progress. Have that breakthrough so that you feel the winds of fortune working that much more on your side. And they work on your side when you're able to recognize how you have changed, how your energy has shifted. It might be other people in your life now who facilitate that. Ultimately, though, the responsibility is with us. We choose if we're going to engage the lessons that align us with greater love and greater wisdom. That's what I like to call the realm of heaven, the realm of greater love and greater wisdom. It's up to us to choose that, of course, but having certain people around us, having interactions, or at least being open to certain interactions, regardless of the nature of them and how we might judge the people we're interacting with, they can be a powerful facilitator to that understanding that allows us just that little bit more of ascension, that little bit more. And it is the earth signs, of course, that this energy is going to speak to the heart of you that much more. It truly invites you to look at whom it is you are, what you really want, and what you understand as your place in the world in a largest sense. What do you really believe, and where does that come from? It is now that seeing that differently can just open up possibilities within oneself, but also it opens up an awareness of what action can be taken in support of what it is that you know is going to bring you peace and happiness. What is it that you may have to live in order to truly be at peace with yourself? I'll tell you, it's only by ascending. It's not going to be found in those lower realms. But in one way or another, I do think that a lot of us are going to be breaking free of illusion. That's a big part of Uranus as well. Faith is a positive illusion. Faith allows us to move through times that can be very challenging, which is certain as part of a journey that you will take as a human being. I can say that for sure. As much as we like to consider how we manifest our reality, and that's a beautiful thing, at the same time, though, if you are human, it means that you're going to have certain transits sometimes. Perhaps if you're lucky, you could say that you will have certain transits that will, in some way, invite you to move through times that feel challenging. And faith helps tremendously during those times. And we do that work and we do it with faith and we reflect on ourselves and we do it with faith and we move through those challenging times. And then in an instant, we realize they're behind us. And that's the Sun trine Uranus now. In an instant, in our own way, in the different ways the universe might facilitate that based on our rising sign or a sun sign that I just went through, we may find ourselves leaping forward in the best possible sense. Now, I think that the full awareness of this and that real sense of clarity is likely to come at the end of the week. That is when the Sun will meet that retrograde Mercury. And it'll feel like a lot of pieces come together. We'll be able to see the wisdom of the events just a week earlier, as we were ending one year and starting another with such intense energy. On the other side of it, it feels lighter. And I do think for some, if it felt particularly challenging as we begin this week, that lightness, it'll be like the work that you do to get there is worth it, because you are worth being at peace with yourself and at peace with your choices as you are right now today. We also have a full moon this week, okay? So that full moon is in the sign of Cancer, a sign that has to do with home. And I find this so fascinating. This is being at home with you, ultimately, whether that's at home in your skin, at home in your body, home in your heart, knowing that there's something within you you can trust to be at ease with, to move through the world with a sense of comfort with who you are, is a very powerful way of seeing home everywhere you go. And I think that this is one way in which truly fresh perspectives, but also new opportunities are going to open up for a lot of us as well. It is this full moon that is speaking in harmony with Uranus and in supreme harmony with Neptune as well. And so there's plenty of inspiration and a spirit of healing and forgiveness and compassion to go around. But there's also a sense of different perspectives that allow us to take ownership for where it is we feel at home within and where it is we don't. And if we're at least able to take ownership for where we don't, that alone, that acknowledgement alone, invites us to then own our ability to be at home with ourselves, to be comfortable with ourselves. It is one of the great freedoms that we might find as we move through this life. We've also got Mercury across this full moon as well. And that opposition to Mercury is interesting because to me that represents interactions with other people, and how random interactions or conversations with others can really wake up certain awarenesses for us that end up facilitating that compassion that we didn't know we wanted and we didn't know we needed until it arrived. Being willing to be generous and see ourselves compassionately, that is a supreme form of generosity. That is a great gift that we might be inspired to give ourselves under the light of this full moon. Now, the other big news this week I wanted to be sure to share has to do with Venus. Venus is going to be moving into the sign of Aquarius on Monday, very quickly moving into alignment, a harmonious alignment with Jupiter, which perfects on Wednesday. And so I find this such an interesting way in which the universe is speaking to us to, again, ascend our realms of existence, because it is the energy of Aquarius that is hyper intellectual, right? It lives in the realm of thought and mind. I have come across many an Aquarian over the years, and how there are some Aquarians, and sometimes with Aquarius energy, we might have a tendency to over rationalize or over intellectualize or think that everything has some intellectual reason and way of understanding, and any problem can be solved like a math equation. But of course, that is just one face of Aquarian energy. The other face of it, the ancients, maybe not the ancients, but more, I would say, as astrologers evolved astrology, and as astrologers started moving more towards a psychological interpretation of astrology, which was about 90 years ago now, is when that move really started to happen at, the early or first part of the last century. And that was really with the discovery of Pluto and the works of certain big dogs in our history, like Dane Rudyard. Um, and it is that more psychological interpretation that ultimately leads us to look at how um, it is the energy of Aquarius that invites us to cultivate emotional detachment. And that can sometimes be healthy because we can learn from our emotion that much more. But the thing to be mindful of is not to fear emotion, not to think that to feel means that we lose power or we lose control. And I think that this awareness, and this, in some ways, it's somewhat of a contradiction. I mean, thought and emotion are often conceptualized in contrast. And yet, it is now that on Wednesday, we are going to have Venus speaking in harmony with Jupiter, and Jupiter is moving through fire sign Aries. This is very passionate. This is all about all the things stirring right within, but also feeling like it is a blessing to feel it all. To be alive and to feel the energy of life is a great blessing. And I think that a lot of us are going to be engaged in this journey of wanting to have the right perspective around what we feel, but also what we desire, what we want, approaching it from that place of being able to understand what the different options are, what would be best for us. But then there's the other layer of what do we really want to do? Well, thankfully, with Venus sextile Jupiter, it can come together really nicely now. The other way that I see this energy working out has to do with how sexy mind is, right? Like that's how I see this. It's a very it's just something that can be very alluring to interact with someone or to see someone who is smart. Smarts are and can be to some people rather attractive. I had this experience so many years ago. It must have been, oh gosh, like 15 years ago or something. It just stood out to me. It changed my life forever. It was a small moment, but it just changed the trajectory of my life, I'll tell you. And what happened was I went to the bank and I was waiting at the bank, and then one of the tellers called me over, and I told him what I needed. We chit-chatted a little bit. He asked me, what were you studying and things like that. And then he started talking to me about stuff that I'm into, stuff I was studying at the time. And it was a miracle that in front of my eyes, in the span of about 45 seconds, this man went from like, just someone who blended in with the wall to this gorgeous creature right in front of me. Like that perception, that shift that happened, it amazed me, but it made me realize how powerful the mind is where it comes to desire. And what I mean by that is, yes, what we tell ourselves we desire, that's one thing, and that's very powerful. But the other layer of this is that, yes, when people allow themselves to engage others and to show themselves, not hide behind them, whatever that might be. Show your intellect, show your interest, show your curiosity, show your heart, show your compassion, show your emotion. When we allow ourselves to display some truth about who we are, that is very attractive, because that in and of itself speaks to being at ease with some part of you, being okay with allowing that part to come forward, allowing that part to be shown. That confidence, that sense of self-assurance that perhaps a person isn't even conscious of, yet it is that very thing that can be very attractive in a person as well. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It's a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. I am going to say the Sun trine Uranus. I know I'm biased, but I really, really like that energy. I feel like that energy is going to be just what we need to see the events of this final weekend of a year that we are leaving and starting a brand new year with that Venus Pluto intense energy. We will see it very differently in some way and in a better way once we get to those moments leading up to the emotional full moon. It's the Sun trine Uranus that ultimately will be this breakthrough and will help us to leap forward. Now, I do want to be very straightforward with everybody out there. The Sun is in Capricorn, and it is Pluto that is in the last degrees of Capricorn, which means that just hold on tight, because it won't be that long before we are going to have the Sun conjunct Pluto. So just when you thought you knew, just when you thought like this crescendo, this intensity, this hungry ghost was it, we may need to revisit it in some way once we navigate a little bit forward, and that's okay as well, because it's all part of the realms in which we exist. And ultimately, we need to navigate those realms because they are part of ascending to what could be called heaven, what could be called enlightenment, what I like to call love and wisdom. That is ultimately the sole intent for each and every one of us in this lifetime. And as part of the mystery, it is each and every one of these realms that will get us there. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys. And to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. Who hits the notification bell. Thank you so much for that as well. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you in your sign, log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate. Now, higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University has some exciting programs starting this week. Yes, this week they are starting. These incredible teachers are coming to Synchronicity University. I am so proud of this way that we are starting the new year with some of our brightest and best and most popular teachers at that. Now, technically, Choose Your Tuition Rate would have ended at the end of last week. But as we're heading into this week, my team is on holiday, which means the site has not been updated. So if you are watching this in the middle of the weekend, there is still time to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, an unheard of rate to learn from this caliber of astrologer. I am going to talk about first Cameron Allen. Gosh, I love Cameron Allen. I'll tell you something between you and me. I don't know if Cameron's going to see this. I've been intending to tell him about this too, but a few days ago, I was watching something online, and this image came on the screen, and there was a man, and he was talking to an auditorium of people, like a massive auditorium. And I had this thought just come into my mind, like, that's going to be Cameron Allen one day. Like, I just felt that so strongly. And so, yeah, you can let him know I said that, because I have felt that and thought that he is brilliant. And the way that he teaches astrology, the way he makes you feel it, but understand it as something that you can tap into for your betterment in all kinds of ways. and the way that he understands herbalism, and also now bringing in this tradition of medical astrology, which is a well-established traditions going back to the roots of astrology, but modernizing it because we are modern people and in our modern times. He's bringing that perspective here. I think he's doing such unique work, trailblazing work, and I absolutely love it. So he's also one of our more popular teachers as well. So this is a class that you really want to take, especially we're starting a new year. More people are thinking about being healthy. And if that's you, or even if that isn't, you might enjoy this class. You might enjoy hanging out with Cameron Allen for 90 minutes, once a week for 5 weeks is what this is. And so log on to synchronicityuniversity.com. Check out Cameron Allen while you still can before you're paying, hundreds of dollars to see him in an auditorium years from now. I'm really glad that he's here with us right now and teaching at Synchronicity University. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University presents the one and only MARC LAURENSON back at our school to teach a 5-part class on the lunar nodes. This is so exciting. Again, MARC is one of our most popular teachers. I think his first class was like the 3rd most popular class that's ever been taught at Synchronicity University. And so it's so nice to have him back. Students love him. They always say that taking a class with him, it helps you to see your chart from a whole other perspective, a spiritual perspective of depth. And it helps you to see how things that maybe in your chart you hated or you cursed or you wished it wasn't there, you see it so differently. You see it with so much love and so much gratitude as a result of MARC's teachings. And so I cannot emphasize enough, this is such a wonderful teacher with a wonderful, incredible spiritual perspective. I forget, I was interacting with someone the other day online and they were saying, oh, I hate this in my chart. And I think they were talking about Saturn or Pluto, because that when people say they hate something, normally they're talking about Saturn or Pluto, right? And they said that. And I said, well, it's got to go somewhere, right? And that's something that we as astrologers, like for example, solar returns. My solar return is coming later this month and I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to Spain for my solar return because this is the plan, right? A part of me wants to stay home and hang out with my family, but my friends are all saying to me, go for the solar return. The solar return is amazing in Spain. And I know that. I have a very dear friend in Spain as well. So I'm like, yeah, I know, because I'd brought like so many charts to my friends. I've been like, I know that this is the better chart in Spain for my birthday because that solar return chart is going to speak for the whole year. It encapsulates important themes for the year as well. And so, astrologers are really big on that. And so the thing that always comes up is, where are you going to put Saturn? Where are you going to put Mars? Where are you going to put Pluto, right? They got to go somewhere. That is something that always comes up every single time that I'm looking at my solar return. I'm helping my friends choose their solar returns because we do that for each other as astrologers. Or if I'm helping somebody else who maybe isn't as aware of the techniques behind it, Pluto's got to go somewhere, Saturn's got to go somewhere, Mars has got to go somewhere. Well, what if you saw your Mars, your Pluto, your Saturn from a spiritual perspective, from a more enlightened perspective? What if you saw the wisdom of that placement? It would change the way you look at your chart forever. And that changes the way you understand yourself and your life. It changes your life forever. It really does. It is interesting to look at what you thought was a hindrance, a cross to bear, as actually a blessing, as actually a great asset. That is part of what MARC actually encourages you to do. So with this class, it's about the lunar nodes, very popular topic. I know so many people are going to get so much about it and get so much out of it as well. So yes, join us. Links are in the description below, or go to synchronicityuniversity.com. Synchronicity University presents an incredible January speaker series coming up right now, starting this week. It's very, very exciting. So let me touch on some of these incredible teachers we are going to have as part of the January 2023 speaker series. Big dog, financial astrology, living legend, Christine Skinner. I am amazed and so happy. I can't believe she's coming to the school, and I just couldn't be more grateful and excited because she will help you to understand your chart differently, help you to understand the potential there to look into prosperity and have a clarity around prosperity differently than you have before. And so I did interview all these speakers as well. Just watching that interview, I think you could get so much out of it also. And all of those are up on my channel as well. Wade Caves is coming. He's going to be teaching a beginner's class on horary astrology. And so horary astrology is something a lot of students have asked about before. And it's the astrology of looking at how astrology can be divination, and it's about answering questions, right? So it's really good for things like, where are my keys? Or, uh, will I get married this year? I don't know. I'm not, but I mean, in general, I don't know if that's a good horary question, but I'm sure Wade will let you know if that is or isn't. But it really requires its own expertise, which is why I didn't teach it myself. And Wade really is such a rising star where it comes to horary astrology. His teacher is the one and only Deborah Holding, massive legend in astrology. So I hope that you'll check him out as well. We have Taylor Schuler. I love Taylor. She is a massive rising star. It was so evident if you heard her speak at the interview that I did. She's such a natural. She knows it. She's ready. She's amazing. I love her. And she's going to be looking at Saturn in Pisces and help you to understand what that could mean for you in your chart as well. So it isn't just about the concept, but she'll help you to personalize it as well. We're going to have Robina Kodadin, and she's going to be looking at how the South Node and North Node, they pull on each other. They'll bounce around back and forth. They'll call you to each of them and how to navigate that. So that's going to be really exciting. And another person that I'm so excited about is Alice Sparkley Cat. She is the author of a book that really has been creating a splash in astrology as of late, called Post-Colonial Astrology. And she's going to be looking at Venus and Pisces and help you to tap into the power of that and understand what that's about, where that is in your chart, but really how to work with this upcoming transit of Venus and Pisces and work with this energy to your advantage as well. So you can see we've got all these incredible speakers for the January 2023 speaker series at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links are in the description below. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for navigating another year with me. This is so exciting. I'm so happy to be starting a brand new year with you as well. There is a bit of a delay on the monthly horoscopes. I apologize about that. The annual horoscopes are up now in the Superstar space for 2023. They're also available for download on my website, nadiyashah.com. Hope you enjoy those as well. But yes, I know I have to get the year ahead overview and previews up. And I will be doing that. And then the monthly horoscopes are likely to be like 1 or 2 days a little bit late. And I'm so very sorry about that. I appreciate your love, your patience, your trust. I appreciate those of you who know that all things come together in perfect time and that sometimes I need to remember that as well. I have Saturn in my first house. I can be very hard on myself. And thank you. Thank you so much again. Thank you for being here. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.